everybody, welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me. Down the inside, absolutely possible scene. This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We'll go bust. We got our elbows out.
Ronard takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Yarda Watmere is your champion.
That's the wrong one. There we go. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. The technical mishaps are carried over, it seems, by me, accidentally this time around. But we should be fine for the rest of the stream. Touch wood. But welcome back to PSGL for Season 42. Here in PCF3 tonight, we head to Baku for the second round of the season. But we have some big breaking news from last week quickly to tell you before I introduce me and Corey even more. Of course, we saw that Claudio Diaz and Victor Vidler came to blows at turn one a few times over the course of that Spanish Grand Prix. And Claudio Diaz picked up a 3-second time penalty, which dropped him from that race victory in his home Grand Prix down to 6th place. So it was Vidler who ended up inheriting that race victory. But my name is Max Ring, and tonight, joining me for the first time this season, hopefully for the rest of the season, it's Corey Brooks. How are you, Corey, to be stepping here into F3 for the first time?
Very excited, that's one way to put it. I've been up in the F2 scene for quite a while, and now we come down here to the F3 to see what these guys are capable of. They've got a lot to prove, and they're all trying to improve their pace to hopefully one day get into that F2 spot. So I'm excited to see what the drivers have got here, and there's a lot to prove, but it's a very tricky circuit as we head over to Baku. These walls come at you from out of nowhere, and you've got some very harsh braking zones, which are not even big enough to get two cars through. So you've got to pick your overtakes perfect and time them just right, or it's all game over for both parties. Here we go. I'm ready to rock and roll, Max. I don't know about you.
Oh, I certainly am indeed. From quite an open circuit of Spain to the tricky streets of Azerbaijan at the Baku City circuit. Let's quickly, before we head into qualifying, as the drivers have just made it trackside, run you through the standings / race results from last week. As you can see, after that penalty, Victor Vidler ended up taking that race victory and also claimed pole position as well. So maximum points for the Swede after the first round. Then it was Ivan Iskrig rounded up in second place as a reserve driver. Excellent result from him. Then it was Gabadi who ended up inheriting that podium position, followed by Langrock, Piagetski, Claudio Diaz who dropped down to 6th, Santana in 7th, Koya in 8th, Curiel 9th, and Tristan Janssen who rounded out the top 10, picking up that final point. And you got Gio, Bieda, Andrea Manzua, Alexi Cavero, Galanay, Steg, Salsa, Flak, Basler, Boba, and Napadovsky yet to score, with, of course, Clean, Till, Grob, and Veglars not being able to race just yet. But Max is actually racing tonight, so he's down in 25th at the moment, but he could potentially cause a rise in a fight this evening. But, Corey, shall we head trackside to see the action unfold here in Azerbaijan?
Absolutely. Qualifying is underway. The drivers are getting themselves ready on their out laps. Nobody has hit that checkered flag yet, but they're all focused on getting those tyres warmed up, ready to rock and roll, because this street circuit is tricky.
Certainly is indeed. And for some reason, my PC is not games, so hopefully I'll rather be able to, ladies and gentlemen. I just need to quickly make a few adjustments. But Corey, while I quickly do this, I think one of the drivers is starting, and that looks like one of the Hasses. So take us on board with the Hass and give us some radio commentary to begin with.
Well, what we do have as the kick Salva hit the checkered flag first. I was just on board with that one. We'll keep an eye on Andrea Manunza. I'm going to butcher these names. My first time saying them, so do bear with me. He's coming down towards turn number 3 now. The DRS zone double dose in Sector 1 as you finish Sector 3 with that rear wing open, you go all the way down to turn 1. So it does help you with that speed on entry into your starting lap. But he's dealing with Sector 1 nicely. It's a 34.676 to get himself ready and through turns 5 and 6 now and up towards turn 7 before he hits the trickiest part of the circuit. It's the castle section. It has claimed many a victim time before, but for Andrea, will he hit that wall? No, but he's ever so close indeed. Keeps himself well and truly away from it. So far, so good for Andrea as we get going now towards what will be a very fast, flat Sector 3. Not many corners to navigate here. You come out of turn number 16 and it's just foot to the floor and away you go. But going out of one of the, again, more aggressive corners, turn 15, dealt with nicely for the Kicksalber.
Yeah, nicely done there from Andrea as he now is coming up to the final part of the lap, of course, through turns 18, 19, and will come across to this little kink right, which counts as turn 20. Of course, 20 corners around the circuit. We got the race on the screen and the qualifying session. So let's see what Andrea can do. The benchmark lap time of the evening is a 37.7 for the kick Sauber. Then it's instantly beaten by Bieda, who sits a 37.2 on that lap. Tristan Janssen will be coming up to line as Curiel now goes even quicker. He's 2 tenths clear of his teammate. Here comes Tristan Janssen, and he slots in between the two Alpines. Goes up to second fastest, only just in front of Zalan Bieda. I think that's one of the V cars potentially heading up to the line. No, it looks to be one of the Red Bulls as Vidler moves himself up into second. Of course, last week's pole sitter, Steg, goes to 7th. Here comes Santana. He goes quickest of all. The first driver to dip down into the 1 minute 36s. So nicely done there from both the Williams drivers. And they are, Damien Curiel has been able to separate the pair of them. Tanner, so far the only driver into the 36s. Are we going to see anyone else on these first runs here, Corey? Also, dip below that sub 1:37 lap time.
Well, we did just have Claudia Diaz cross the line for a P8 in the 37s there, on board with Jeremy Galania, who's just gone up into P3 there, just shy of that 36 time by a tenth, but nice to get ahead of Widler there and sort of put himself on the fray for what could be an interesting qualifying, showing he's got the pace to challenge already as other drivers come down towards the line to finish their laps. Next will be the McLaren of Alexi Cavero. You may see Alu on your screen, but it is Alexi nonetheless, up to 10th there with a 37.4 before we finish up with Avi Gabadi powering down towards the line, gets that rear wing open, burning all the battery that is left, taking that very tight line towards the wall, and it's up to P10 jumping ahead of Alexi Cavero there.
Yeah, it seems where we have a few drivers. We have a group of 3 that's just somewhat separated from the rest of the pack in these early runs. And the rest of the field very tightly contested, especially from Victor Bidler all the way down to about Lucas Bays. They're about 2.5 tenths of a second separating 4th from 12th. So for Vidler, he needs to try and potentially find a bit more gas in the tank. But of course, these first runs on a very green circuit, the track will constantly be evolving throughout these qualifying sessions. And of course, the drivers are just starting to build their confidence onto the track as well. Of course, Santana, he is your provisional pole man. Do him quite nicely after not attending that first race. Be looking to try and start his campaign off with a bang. Diaz down in 9th, would like to make his way further up the order after getting that race victory brutally taken away from him from a mistake of his own with that battle with Victor Vidler. So even though we've had one round in the season, a lot of action has happened already. And here, Corey, as well, I know you weren't here last week, but that storyline between Vidler and Diaz could potentially develop while this season goes on.
Well, we'll have to wait and see if these two become the ultimate rivals, fighting it out throughout the season. So far, Widler looking like he's well and truly on the pace. There's just under a 2/10 gap to Claudio Diaz, so maybe that's only one corner away from getting right up behind his current that we would suggest is his rival after that mishap in the first round which saw Diaz lose that victory, as you mentioned. But we're only in round 2. This is still early days. We don't want to put it in stone and say this is what's going to happen. We're going to wait to find out on the track itself. So far, we have Damien Curel on his out lap, looking to warm up those tyres. He's going to be going one more time. It's interesting to see that more drivers coming out. There's not a big flurry back to the track. I would have expected that. The laps are quite long here, so they need to really think about how they're going to approach the qualifying session, not wait too long in the pits, because just one mistake and you might not have a chance to go again.
Exactly, you might not have that opportunity to do so, and if you leave it too late, where if you like, well, Casper Flack has just joined the lobby, and if you're like Casper Flack, who potentially has joined a little bit later, not got that first run on the board, getting out as quickly as possible, or even Rene Clean, who's not set a competitive lap time, you want to be out instantly, setting more and more laps as we progress, and being able to get at least a benchmark on the board before that final run, because if you get that, you've at least got something to keep you within play with the rest of the field. But now the flurry really has hit the circuit. The herd has come out for their next attempt. Damien Curiel, who briefly held that provisional pole until Alex Santana, only around about 30 seconds later, took it away from the Alpine. And he restaked his claim at the top of the times. Of course, as Corey mentioned, it is early days in the championship. If you want to start your campaign off well, you need to do it within at least the first 5 rounds, the first half of the season, if you want to be a title threat. But Curiel starts his second flying lap now. Can he break into the 36s? He makes his way now into turn 2.
I'm interested to see what sort of pace we're going to get on these second runs. You've seen the initial bankers set before your eyes, and quite a spread in the field between the lap times. Ryan Grob has also joined us, sat there in the pits. He's going to want to get out as soon as possible as well. Without a time on the board, it was starting from the back, and the time is ticking down. The clock is going, so everybody now starting to hit the track on their out laps. Wants to go one more time. Here goes Carell now up into turn number 5 as we hit sector 2. He's not currently up on the delta time. He was currently down by half a tenth, but he's still got 2 sectors to find something to help improve him and get him a little bit closer to that pole time. Doesn't have to be this lap. Still got plenty of time to go one more time. May even abort this lap as we come towards the end of it, but we'll wait and find out as we get going strong in sector 2.
Yeah, we certainly do. A little bit of a slide there out of turn 12, so that's going to potentially compromise him ever so slightly for the remainder of this next straight as we slam onto the brakes into turn 16 over that inside apex curve. Now I see middle sector split now coming up just before the braking zone of 17. He's still down on that previous attempt, so unless he has a monstrous exit out of 17, he won't really find the lap time he needs, and he might just pull it straight into pit lane using all the battery he possibly can, as he will open up that DRS in a few moments time, and agonisingly long straight to get to the start finish line. It just feels like an eternity before you reach that checkered flag, and across the line he goes. He was half a tenth down, so Curiel not able to find the lap time he needs on that lap, as Santana through the first sector up by 4 thousandths, and Vidler through the middle up by 3.5 tenths of a second.
Oh, wow. Vidler is coming, and this could be a pole time. I'm on with Max Weglars at the minute. He's going to hit the time. 4 tenths up as it goes up to P13. Good improvement. Just what he needed to get into that mid-pack, get a little bit closer, and in the fight. That's a beautiful lap for the Sauber drivers. Vidler goes quicker. There it is. That 3 tenths that you saw finally coming to the top. Takes Paul away and sets another challenge for what could be 2 victories in a row.
Certainly does. Could it be back-to-back pole positions? Will he follow it up with back-to-back race victories? But still, of course, 6 minutes left in this session, and Santana is up by 600ths of a second in the middle sector. Won't be enough to snatch pole position away from his Williams teammates, but it will be enough to slice that gap down into a very reasonable margin as Bieda separates the pair of them. He now moves up into second place. One of the Aston Martins just came into pit lane. I think that was Pajewski. And now here comes Santana to the line. Did he find any more time in the final sector? He did, but just misses out on that provisional pole by only 11 thousandths of a second. Galilei moves himself up into 5th, and Claudio Diaz now to the top of the times by 400ths of a second. Claudio Diaz now to the very top, and Fiddler demoted down to second place, and it is oh so tasty at the front of this field. Half a tenth separates the top 3.
This is fantastic. Claudio Diaz, Whittler from round 1 chaos to round 2 battles. Here we go, challenge for pole position, and we may see another fight once again, challenging for the race victory. But Santana, the Williams teammate, is lurking behind. He's also looking to chase his first victory, missing out on round 1. It's getting oh so close, and the fine margins are what matter. Half a tenth between P1 and P3. It's getting very close, Max.
It certainly is. It shows, especially around a street circuit like this, that fine margins do matter. Just being that little bit closer to a wall at even one corner can give you that pole position, but the extra 2-3 thousandths of a second, even hundredths of a second, it can find you due to the fact you'll use so much more of the circuit. How tight these times are, of course. With a long circuit, you're expecting a big field spread between a majority of this field, especially between that top 3. Nothing at all, and finding a few hundredths of a second, even a tenth of a second, quite easy to do around this circuit just due to how complex it is. I think the most basic part of the lap here, Corey, is that final sector, and that's just because it is flat out through that little S section down the main straight. Other than that, this circuit a really tricky challenge, even in the first sector of the 90-degree corners, because the natural understeer, it somewhat gravitates you into the wall. It's like the walls pull you in like a magnet because your car's just naturally understeering to the outside.
Absolutely. You're trying to get all that speed and push the car to the limit through these corners and find the time. And it's like you say, you just understeer, slide out. Now, even in the race, the dirty air being a massive factor on that, these drivers really need to focus on how they approach these corners from qualifying to the race to when the tyres are at the absolute screaming on the back foot of tyre wear. They need to really focus on every angle, every entry, being that little close to the wall, even on the exit, staying well and truly away from it to guarantee safety. And it's all about surviving. But first, as it's once been said by the great driver in the past, first you have to finish, and that is what will be the biggest challenge for most drivers here, just trying to make it through this tricky street circuit.
Yes, it does make it an extremely difficult street circuit. I think we might be getting a restart after qualifying due to Rob and Flack joining the plates, so they might potentially get a restart due to the fact they weren't able to choose their tyre allocations. I think that's going to be it for the session for Grob though, because he's not going to have enough time to get the car back in and come back out, so 19th is the best he's going to start. The field have now come out on to the circuit, and who is going to be the first one around? It looks like it's going to be Dennis Langrock. It is Langrock. He'll need to find 0.2 of a second if he wants to try and snatch pole position away from Claudio Diaz. It sounds easy around this circuit. The more you push, Corey, the more closer you are to these walls, the more likely you are to make a mistake and potentially cost yourself the rest of the session. It is going to be a very tricky end to qualifying, and who will have the most consistency and who will have the biggest amount of courage to take this pole position here in Baku.
It's getting very interesting to say the least. Santana with illegal blocking, so that's certainly another reason to restart to get rid of that. Santana will not be faced with that unless our stewards deem he must be faced under some form of qualifying penalty, but very unlikely to see that happen even if we get into the restart phase. But I'm on board with the McLaren of Alexi Cavero. He's coming down out of the start-finish straight, going to open that rear wing now, maximise the speed. The battery is now active and the lap is time to go as we power down towards turn 1. Harsh on the brakes, trying to get the rotation, stay very close to the wall on entry and exit, but you notice in turn 1 it sticks out a little bit at you and can catch that front right wing and cause you some serious damage, maybe even end your race. But out of turn 2 we go, the rear wing is open once again, maximising all the speed that you can, burning a bit of the battery but not too much. You've got to save it for the rest of the lap. Harsh on the brakes, close to the wall on entry and exit once again, slight little tap, little love graze on that barrier, but not enough to hinder your progress too much. And for Alexi Cavero, just about to finish off that sector 1, half a tenth improvement so far as we get going around turn number 6 into what is the most tricky part of this street track. Here we go towards Castle section, Hash towards turn 7. Nice and Bonnie trying to cut as much as possible without getting yourself that invalidation. Flick it to the left, stay away from the right before you back up the top of the hill, and flicking it left and right once again, and kept nice and Bonnie for Alexi Cavero. Down towards sector 3, as Max says, one of the more basic parts of the track. You can sort of feel safe when you see that final turn 16 and the sector 3 start to happen. You know that your lap is well and truly over with. You just got to maintain a more straight line and finish off the lap.
He certainly do. He's down in the middle sector by 5 thousandths of a second. So for Alexis Cavero, I don't see this being too much of an improvement, and potentially won't even see him improve a position as he now makes his way to that start-finish line. He's got Langrock instantly following him in tow and in one of the Alpines. So he did find some time in the final sector, went to 12th fastest. Here comes Langrock to the line, goes onto the front row, just misses out on pole position, but jumps in front of, that was Victor Vidler. Demian Curiel goes to 6th. Alan Bieda, is he going to find an improvement to take him to pole position? No, he just misses out and goes to the front row of the grid as well. Santana's down in the middle sector. Vidler now coming up to the start-finish line. Has he potentially got what it takes to make it back-to-back pole positions across the line? No, he does not. He lost the time he found on that previous lap. Santana, I don't think he's going to find anything too special here across the line. No, he does not. So Claudio Diaz staring at a potential pole position. He's not going to be improving on his lap. He was half a tenth up in the first sector as Gobadi goes to 6th fastest. Andrea to the line. He goes into 9th. All eyes now to Koya and Basner. Koya not finding an improvement. Lucas Basner's up by 0.3 of a second, but it surely won't be enough. Across the line he goes. 9th fastest for him. Now it's Jeremy Galloway's turn. He doesn't find an improvement, and after brutally getting that race win taken away from him in his home country, Claudio Diaz bites back instantly and takes pole position here in Baku for round 2.
Absolutely fantastic for Claudio Diaz there. An absolute statement response to what happened from round 1, saying, well, you can take that victory, but I'll come back in round 2 stronger, take pole. And now it's all eyes on the battle that is to ensue to see if Diaz can hold it out. Zalan Bieda very, very close, as well as Lanrock and Vidler, all very, very close indeed to what could have been their chance at pole, which means this fight for the win is going to be very difficult for Diaz. The ride on his tail, hot on the heels, ready to attack.
They certainly are indeed. Spectacular stuff there from Claudio Diaz. Very much an instant response to what happened last time out. I do believe we are going to have a lobby restart thanks to Santana's 5-place grid penalty. But it was Claudio Diaz who took pole position by only 27 thousandths of a second. Look at that, the top 5 separated by half a tenth of a second. It's Bieda, Langrock, Vidler, Santana, Gobadi, Curiel, Galanay, Basner, and Andrea rounding out your top 10. Then Nal Gio with an 11th place, much better than the back row of the grid he got last week. Kasper Flack, Tristan Janssen, Piazeski, Cavero, Koya, Veglars, Wojtek Steg, Clean, and Grob round out your field. And it's going to be a very interesting Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I think it is going to be a 2-stop here this evening. Still waiting on the confirmation if it is going to be a lobby restart or not. So we're going to stay with us here just beforehand. And Corey, of course, there wasn't too many incidents with the walls in qualifying. Of course, we saw drivers hitting into them for speed. But it's going to be a tricky challenge, especially now with the added dirty air into the play, for some of these drivers to actually keep it out of the walls.
It is going to be fairly difficult, and now dirty air is going to be a massive factor for these drivers, especially now that everybody's going to be lined up in that race scenario. It's not qualifying where you want that breath of fresh air. It's, I'm going to fight for this position, but there's not many places to find that overtake. Even with DRS, it's going to be a train down this sector 1. Even if you can find a move into those corners, it's going to be difficult to happen. Well, I think we do have confirmation. We do have a restart. So it has been called by Jeremy Galanea. We will see the lobby be restarted. So all these drivers are going to well and truly crash them out. As you say, oh my God,
Oh.
I'm clipping that.
I cut away at the wrong time. I didn't want to show on the stream the lobby restart that just happened, but I've just seen Damien Curiel fly not over one Williams driver, but the other one as well. He flew over Vidler and Santana in one moment there. But join us in a few moments' time, ladies and gentlemen, while we get this lobby turned around, and we shall be back for round 2 here in Azerbaijan. And will that Claudio Diaz and Victor Vidler rivalry carry on? And can Diaz convert this pole position into his first race win of the season? Will there be any more controversy added to this championship? We'll have to wait and see. Join us in a few moments' time to see what happens. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Baku City Circuit here in Azerbaijan. Have one of the behemoth of street circuits on the cards for us this course. A 6.003 kilometer circuit of 3.730 miles. 20 corners making up this track and 2 DRS zones. One from the exit of turn 20 all the way to the first corner. Next one just straight after that between turns 2 and 3. A circuit that can provide a lot of action, a lot of chaos, and also, even for a street circuit here, Corey, does have plenty an overtaking opportunity, especially in that first sector. Should be a rather entertaining evening tonight.
Well, if you think about it in terms of being on the track, I don't think anybody's brave enough to attempt it in Sector 2 with how tight and twisty and tricky it can be for these drivers just to stay well and truly clear of the walls. So Sector 1, when you've got the DRS, maybe the only place you can really pull off an overtake. But the lights are lit, we're about to go racing, it's 5 lights, the grid is hot, the drivers are ready. And it is all go, go, go. Claudio Diaz gets away well. Your pole sitter immediately getting a beautiful start and cutting over that line. We see side by side Dennis Landrock and Victor Vidler trying to get on through, but he can't find an open door just yet. Landrock stays ahead. A couple cars going side by side in that mid pack towards the back end, looking and lurking for any overtaking potential that they may be able to find in these first couple of corners before we get to that twisty and tricky Sector 2. But for now, it's a beautiful getaway from the pole sitter. And a couple of drivers now just trying to line up in suit and follow on and not lose out too much time. We have Damien Curell going for an attack around the outside though, in a bit of an unorthodox position coming out of turn 4. Can he make it stick? No, I don't think he can. Sits back behind Avi Gabadi. No overtake coming your way just yet. At the back, we have a big kerfuffle there, scrapping away for P15, and a huge contact and collision. Cars in the wall. May see yellow flags. The kicks out was stopped. That being Max Weglars. He's pointed the opposite direction, and that's disaster for his race start, and we are under a virtual safety car.
Virtual safety car has been deployed, and it seems that the top 10 have remained unchanged, and that big incident at the back has caused PSGL to go down 5, Veglars down 3, and Ryan Grob has been able to move himself up 4 places after that one, but it was a chaotic start to this one. Diaz did a great launch from the line. The lights probably came a little bit earlier than some drivers might have been expecting. There was a little bit of pandemonium in the background at turn 1. But as we look at the tyres here, Corey, everybody on the mediums except Grob and Steg. So not really too much strategy variation at the moment. But the way these drivers are speeding up, it looks like we're about to go back to green flag racing. That will be surely in a couple of moments' time, and it's going to be Bieda all over the back of Claudio Diaz, and then also Dennis Langrock all over the back of the Alpine, but we're still under that virtual safety car for now. Essentially, these drivers have been a little bit too eager, Corey.
A little bit. They're going to have to slow it down. Oh, big pile up into turn 1. There's carbon flying. People are not going to be happy. And the green flags come out. And that's damage for Victor Widler. He's going to be absolutely fuming with that one, with the slight little contact, the lockups into turn 1, and it's piled up a little bit. And now he's going to have to suffer for the next couple of laps if he can hold it out there. If not, he's going to have to box. And that's completely fumbled his strategy.
Oh, that's a disaster there for last week's race winner. Clean, Steg, Veglars, Piaszewski and Flack all came into pit lane under that virtual safety car. Of course, a majority for that for damage. As we actually see Victor Vidler actually going for the attack onto Dennis Langrock. One good thing that this might do is actually Gabani to the inside at turn 7. That's opportunistic, to say the least, heading into that right-hander. And he's separated the 2 Williams cars. Gabani now up into 5th. And look into the inside, just after the castle section against Victor Vidler. Just wasn't able to get the move done there. And that's allowed Santana to draw alongside now into the triple left-hander. And into the wall goes Gabani. Santana somehow picks up some left front end plate damage in all the flat. Gabani's not got any damage from his car, so did the ricochet potentially put all that force on the left front, because Santana didn't even touch the left front of his car, and he's lost both front wing end plates.
You know what that completely reminded me of? Have you ever had those physics balls where you've got 5 in a line, you lift one up, drop it, and it bounces the other one? Well, that would be what just happened with Avi Gabadi being in the middle, facing no consequences whatsoever, but Santana bounced off him from the force of impacting the wall. I think Gabadi got lucky though, was just sandwiched against the wall and has done very well to use his wheels to take the impact rather than the wing.
He did. He hit the wall square on as Langrock actually just went to the inside there at turn 2. Onto Zalan Bieda. Was able to get the move done, but Bieda's gone for the good old switcheroo. And he's now drawing side by side as Diaz comes across to defend on the Alpine driver. Langrock still trying to hold this one around the outside. Be the inside for turn 4. Of course, a lot of natural understeer here, so Bieda needs to make sure he doesn't be forced into the wall. He is not, as they still run side by side. Gabadi now to the inside of Victor Vidler. He's going to move up to 4th. He's passed 2 Williams cars in 2 laps, and we also see Bieda able to stay in front of Langrock as Victor Vidler's now under pressure from Curiel and Galladay. They're 3 wide, and Vidler spin round into the wall, and it's a small pile up with cars going into the back of them, but it is all chaos here, Corey, on the opening few laps of this race, as last week's race winner Vidler and Jeremy Galladay are round and into the wall, and that's disaster for them, as Gabadi has now been able to draw all the way alongside Dennis Langrock into 15, and he's just not able to get that move done.
Oh, there they come into blows once again. Gabadi's looking for a move on Dennis Langrock. Slight little wheel banging procedure there. Coming into 16, nothing too major. Gabadi's forced back behind. Langrock holds that podium position for a little bit longer, but I've got to say, Jeremy Gallanier and Victor Vidler coming together. Vidler's having a disaster here.
He certainly is having a disaster as Gabadi's now going for that move on Dennis Langrock. He's got it done, and is Curiel going to potentially follow him through as Christian Jansen's able to get past Cavero in the background. It is going to be Gabadi who holds on to that 3rd place, and then it's going to be Langrock in 4th. For Claudio Diaz as Victor Vidler's come into pit lane to repair that front wing. So Williams have gone through 2 front wings in 2 laps at practically the same part of the circuit. So as we see Dennis Langrock, as we see actually Gabadi try go to the inside of Zalan Bieda, this Ferrari is a man on a mission. Gabadi is absolutely flying throughout this field. He's just not able to get past from Zalan Bieda, potentially could put him under some pressure from Dennis Langrock just behind him. But Corey, if you've got to put your money on anyone at this current state of affairs, it's surely Gabadi, because this man has so much pace under that prancing horse.
Absolutely, that Ferrari has come alive. The Stallion is aware and he's charging through this field, picking them off piece by piece, corner after corner, finding every open door and opportunity in the most unorthodox places. The Ferrari man is on a mission to take a victory here in round 2, and also crucial because, as you mentioned earlier on, Max, starting your season off to the best best potential that you can is also crucial for that second half of the season. You don't want to be playing catch up. You want to be ahead in the opening stages.
You certainly do. You want to at least build your campaign off to a good start, so you're not the one who's on the back foot when we get to those final deciding championship rounds, and you can stay in contention even with a few poor performances. Gabadi just tucks out of the slipstream. Gabadi coming in for an early pit stop here, and also following him in is the likes. Oh, Gabadi picks up 10 seconds! We're just talking about how he could be one for the race victory, and he picks up a 10-second time penalty. Disaster for Gabadi after such a dream getaway to this race as Langrock and Curiel followed him in. He's thrown it away in the most simple of circumstances.
Oh, that is just so unfortunate, but although it being a 10-second loss, we are expecting 2 stops, and with them swapping off those medium tyres within 5 laps, that is certainly giving the impression that you're going to see another set of hard tyres come these drivers' way. So Gabadi has the opportunity to absolutely burn through these hards best to his ability. Maybe try an undercut, some sort of alternate strategy, because he will ultimately serve that 10 seconds in the pits. If not, then the other strategy is wait and truly on to play. Can he extend for 21 laps on these hard tyres? Can he go long and hold a 10-second gap so that penalty won't even be a factor in the end? He was looking very racy, very, very spicy in those past few laps to try and get the positions, but now he's got a lot of work to do to gain that 10 seconds back.
Yes, he certainly does indeed. One man that's kept himself out of trouble for this whole race and not been overtaken or had an attempt of an overtake against him is Claudio Diaz, the man who took pole position, was able to break away from the get-go. He did come under some pressure from Bieda early on, and we might now see Bieda try apply some more pressure to the V-carb in front of him. Of course, we'll have that DRS as Janssen is now able to get past on Andrea as Zalan Bieda actually dives into pit lane. That's another driver reacting. Kuya and Cavero now into the pits too. Janssen up into fourth. Now Gio is up into third. This is a big change of events from last week, where Gio was nowhere all evening long and only was up in these high places due to the fact people boxed around him, but he's off it up here thanks to benefiting off the carnage. So could the Frenchman potentially have a good points haul this evening? That's something to look out for as well, is some shock results here in Baku, Corey, just due to the fact we've had so much chaos so far.
Already, we're only halfway through lap 6 as Claudio Diaz is just hitting that halfway point roundabout, and we've seen so much action, so much carnage, a virtual safety car already, drivers forced off their strategy to swap out those damaged parts. It's all chaos and carnage here in round 2, but wouldn't you rather have it happen now than at a more crucial point towards the end of the season, when points matter the most, when you're trying to maximise the end of your season and guarantee the championship? It's better to happen now than any other time. You can reset yourself for round 3 and get yourself back on the high and mighty, challenging for those top high points positions. I'm looking at Vidler for that example. He's had a disaster here, but for round 1 had a mighty fine scrap and a battle for the race win, and ended up taking that race win after the penalty went on to Diaz.
Yeah, was able to pull off that race victory, and that's exactly what Vidler needed. That a performance like this, it may not be strong, but it certainly did give him the opportunity to at least hang on in the championship. But yes, it's only round 2, but it's not like he's had 2 back-to-back disappointing results and starts off on the back foot. He was the one leading into this evening as Baisner and Janssen now come into pit lane. And Corey, I guess you could say the way they were driving in the opening 5 laps, it felt like a 5-lapper that they were doing, a quick 5-lap shootout between these drivers. It's calmed down ever so slightly now as we see, of course, Lanrock, Flack and Bieda all behind Ave Gabadi. But that was so much chaos in the opening 5 laps that these drivers, they were just going hell for leather. And I think they've realised what they did wrong and they've all started to calm themselves down.
Yeah, more like all fight for positions, get into that track position, because they're not going to want to be on these medium tyres for long, as you saw. 4-5 laps in, they were already thinking about stops and swapping them out. You have the front 3 that are going a little bit longer on the medium compounder tyre, but not too long as we hope, because again, you've got to be thinking of that strategy. We're expecting the 2 stops. The degradation is high, but it was all carnage. They all wanted those track positions. They wanted to be there in the fight and in the fray. Maybe because they knew these mediums weren't going to last long at all.
Yeah, exactly. They needed to get those positions early, and they had to get them instantly, and they tried to do that, and it's benefited others. It has not benefited some, like Victor Vidler, Jeremy Gallonay, the drivers that were caught in those accidents. Fortunately for them, it's seen them fall all the way down throughout the field. Diaz will react now and come into pit lane. Will Noel Gio do the same? Actually, no, Diaz was trying to fake potentially Gio into pit lane, but not coming in is the V-carb. And Gio has actually been able to claw back a near 3-second deficit here, Corey, to Claudio Diaz, down to half a second. So spectacular stuff here from the Frenchman. I know I said potentially look out for a shock result here from the Haas man, but could he potentially be in for a net podium come the end of this one?
Well, he's certainly on the charge, pushing very hard, pulled back those 3 seconds, has managed the tyre a bit more effectively than what seems as Diaz, unless Diaz has gone into that tyre management mode, trying to extend a little bit longer, and hopefully maybe we see the 1-stop versus the 2-stop strategy come into play here in round 2.
Oh,
A battle of attrition. Oh, Tristan's out.
Virtual safety car. Virtual safety car. We were just on board with Janssen. He went too deep into turn 4. Someone went straight underneath him. I think that was of Jeremy Gallonay, who went straight underneath the Haas driver. But He was defending the inside against, I think it was Daniel Courier. And he's gone straight into the wall. He turned in too early. It took off his left front tyre. And for Tristan Janssen, he is out of this race. And if you are Andrea Manzua, Niall Gio and Claudio Diaz, if this virtual safety car stays out for long enough here, Corey, they have just been thrown a lifeline. And they may be able to take this top 3 in the race and move on to a set of the hards for free.
I mean, you'd be stupid not to. You've been gifted a free pit stop. They're coming down the start-finish straight now. But are they close enough to the pit lane to get on an entry? We're not seeing any opportunity of green flags coming. I think Niall's going to take that opportunity well and truly over to the left. And so is Diaz. I expect to see Manzuna do the same thing.
Yes, all coming into pit lane, and we've gone back to green flag racing, I think. It said DRS enabled at the top of the screen. I'm going to be on board with Ryan Grob. Yes, we are back to green flag racing. So they just came in when we went back to green flag running. Where are these drivers all going to come out? Gabadi has been able to jump both Diaz and Gio, and they're going to come out. Diaz in 6th and Gio in 7th potentially. He's going to be side by side with Casper Flack on pit lane exit. He's going to drop down behind Flack and Curiel as well, but keeps his nose clean. So it is 6th place for Claudio Diaz, 9th place for Niall Gio, but expect these drivers to now make their way and fight their way up the field, as we actually see to the inside as Gio against Damien Curiel. He's got a little bit of front wing damage himself. And he's trying to go around the outside, try to do the up and under through 4, but not able to put it off. But he needs to get past Curiel quickly, you would think here, Corey, because the Alpine driver with that front wing damage will be hemorrhaging time, especially through this middle part of the lap.
Absolutely. Now, if you look there, Claudio Diaz is starting to so much find a way through and break away. He's got that clean air in front of him. There's nobody there to give him that dirty air. You've got Alex Santana in front, but not too much to hinder any progress. The gap is starting to open up a little bit. Diaz now is in a beautiful position, and if Gio wants to stay close enough, needs to get past Curiel now, and then Casper Flack needs to get right back behind Diaz before he starts to bridge a gap and pull away.
Certainly does indeed. The Frenchman having, of course, very good race pace. If you saw him in F4 last season, you know his quali pace wasn't too strong, but when it came down to those race distances, he could certainly make his way up through the field and recover a bad qualifying into a very strong finish at the end of the race. And the Frenchman makes his way up into 8th and is now going to potentially go for 7th as well. He's got a DRS against Flack. He's also being followed by Lucas Baster behind. He's been able to get past the Alpine Curiel, and up into that 7th place goes Niall Gio, and he's going to be now all over the back of Diaz as Lucas Baster has followed him through once again. We're going to watch it from the back of the Haas, and the Mercedes driver is able to get past the Aston Martin as he also falls behind Damien Curiel, but being on worn 8-lap-old hard compounder tyres here, Corey, you just expect Flack to just start falling backwards as Cavero looks to the outside line.
This is where things are going to start to think, when am I going to box? Do I even have the chance to box? Do I need to go a little bit longer for Casper Flack, as he's got to think about these 8-lap worn tyres? But not only that, Wojciech Steg, Max Rene, Igor and Jeremy Garlanier at the back. He's on a fresh set of hards, but those in front of him, who he needs to try and catch and gain some time, are on that 8-lap tyre deficit. As you mentioned, it's Ryan Grob currently leading the way with that 4-second gap. He's also on a 9-lap old hard compounded tyre, so this is great insight for those behind, as Ryan Grob has the worst tyre. When is he thinking about swapping off them? And it'll allow the drivers behind to think, okay, the tyres are going to go this long.
Yeah, we're going to have to see when Grob comes into the pit lane, because that's going to be an identifier of when these drivers on the other set of hards will have to come in as well, and how long they can go after this first stop. At the moment, it looks like Grob is still staying out in this one, so he can at least go 10 laps in this Grand Prix on the hard compounder tyres. I'm expecting Grob here, Corey, to potentially go to 12 12 laps long, maybe even 13 at a push. So actually see Gio getting past potentially Claudio Diaz. He's looking to the outside line into the first corner. Not able to get past the V-car, but just yet. Santana in front is bottlenecking these two. They're 3.3 seconds behind Zalan Bieda, who's all over the back of Langrock and Gabadi. So if you're, of course, here, Corey, Diaz and Gio, you need to get by now, and that is certainly what Claudio Diaz is trying to do into turn 4, but not close enough against the Williams driver, who's done a good recovery after being involved in that incident on the opening lap with Gabadi. And, of course, Santana will try everything he possibly can to hold these two off and give himself the best opportunities when it comes to the latter stages of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, this is exactly what Santana needs to do. Just hold them off, fend them off. Let their tyres start to burn away. If you can hold off the defence of a lifetime. You're running 8-lap used hard tyres, and Claudio Diaz and now Gio have just boxed. So you want to try and use the track to the best of your ability, because they have got that upper hand. They've got the advantage, and they've got the speed. You're not benefiting from DRS to try and defend. So bridge your gap now. Try and get ahead. Save all the battery you can, and just try and fend them off for a little bit longer. You say that 12-lap mark for Ryan Grobb is what you expect to see, maybe even you'll see this from Santana. He's going to try and go a couple more laps before he needs to box and get onto another set of hard tyres to make it to the end of the Grand Prix. So right now, doing everything he needs to. Oh, that's a moment for Zalan Bieda. It becomes a bit of a roadblock.
Oh, he's in the wall! Oh, and a Red Bull in, and an Aston Martin as well. It's all kicking off here as there is a safety car called a lifeline. No, Grobb's missed the pit lane. Ryan Grobb's missed the pit lane. Gabadi stayed out. Langrock's in. Koya, Bieda, and I think it was PSGL as well, all involved. Cavero's got some front wing damage potentially as well. Drivers all trickling into the pit lane. But that was a huge incident. I'm not sure what happened to Zalan Bieda. I look up, he's had a moment out of one of the corners. There was a yellow flag, and then all of a sudden, while on board with Alex Santana, oh, I think the lobby's glitched entirely. Corey?
I'm still here.
Okay, are you seeing drivers go down the pit lane on the circuit?
I'm seeing people stopped in the pits.
Baszler reporting he has a bug. We're going to have a lobby restart here. It's broken the game.
Oh my word. An incident so violent, so tragic, that the whole lobby has gone, nah, I'm not continuing. That was too bad. The whole
lobby has gone kaput. It's saying Cavero's in the pit lane, but he's driving round the circuit. Bidler saying the lobby's fully bugged out.
Wow, that incident was so bad and so violent.
If we had a red flag now, Corey, Ryan Grobb would have done a last to first because he would get pole position for the restarted race.
Oh my word!
Right. That would be a play of the century from Ryan Grobb here. He's kept himself out of trouble. He's not come into pit lane at all. This has happened. And, I mean, it's saying the drivers are now out of the pits. But we have Baszler, Bidler and Veglars all stuck. Because it says drivers have... Oh, I think the game servers have gone down.
Oh.
Apparently, Kryptonite saying in the F3 chat, ladies and gentlemen, that the F5 drivers are having issues as well. We will update in due course. We're gonna watch the drivers go around the circuit though. Why not? If we're looking at Langrock's just passed one of the cars. Oh, that's Veglar's retired car. But they've called back up to the safety car, but Gabadi's now coming to pit lane. No, he's not, because he's on the circuit.
Right, so for me, everybody is no longer in the pits. The safety car is going. Langrock is leading. Now, I don't know if the lobby is... is fixed or has fixed itself, but we do have a report of some sort of server error. So we're going to wait and find out. Updating due course. We do have Kryptonite himself.
I'm not sure what the plan is going to be. But it seems Bieda crashed at the same time EA servers decided to die.
Coincidence?
It's like his crash somehow broke the entire game. Worldwide.
It was that violent, even EA felt it.
Yep. It was that
crazy.
Violent. Nalshio being in the chat saying, don't cancel, I beg, or give us half points at the very least. I mean, it was, of course, Nalshio on a mission, wasn't it, Corey? The Frenchman having a spectacular race was having somewhat the same performance of Abe Gabadi that we saw at the very start. So, and that was Victor Fidler going into the safety car, ladies and gentlemen. So the plan is either we restart, we cancel, or we reschedule. So, drivers are taking. I'm going to come back to the camera screens, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't think we want drivers smashing in. I mean, we might see a flying car again, but we are back with mine and Corey's faces. We'll get some updates as we go. Apparently, we might be doing the full race again.
The full thing?
I don't get why we can't just do a 25%. So, ladies and gentlemen, the last 14 laps. That was a test race for us here at PSGL. And we are going to have a full race restart.
I think we are. I'm just keeping my eye on the chat here. I know my head's down a little bit because I've got my phone up and I'm just keeping my eye on the chat.
Yeah,
so
we're
trying to keep us updated.
Brian Grob brings up a good point. We're at the end of lap 12, so 25% here. Drivers have all left the lobby, so it looks like we are going to have a restart. The only issue is that if we do the 50%, some of these drivers might not be able to make it, Corey.
Yeah, that's just something that I'm thinking of is more the time frame because, of course, there is a difference in obviously time zones. So some drivers, it's a lot later for them than it is for us. Now I know we're only at 8 p.m, but for some other drivers, it may be 9 p.m, even so much as 10 p.m. It could be a little bit earlier. It all depends on the area or the time zone that they're in. So we're gonna still keep our eyes on to see what is going on. But at the moment, I do believe we have a lobby made up. So things are currently, I think, still going ahead as planned. But we'll see how many drivers we actually have with us. As yeah, some, like you say, a good point to mention, some may not be able to make this.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting if we did do a lobby restart, it'll be either a 25 or 35% race from the grid we had, from the positions we had, and that's why I mentioned Grob potentially doing a last to first. Somehow bagging a pole position for a restarted race, but it seemed like it has gone that way. And, of course, for drivers like Niall or even Gabadi who made all that progress here, Corey, it's a big kick in the teeth for them as well because they've got to make all that they've got to do all that hard work again and pray for the carnage that just happened.
In a sense, yeah, they've got to hope that those first 5 laps we have a repeat and everybody's bouncing off each other into the wall, losing wings and compromising the overall initial start to the race because eventually they'll have to swap that damaged wing when they come into the pits. So we'll have to just wait and see how we fare with this new restart and this restarted Azerbaijan Grand Prix. You can count that first race as a practice. The lobby is starting to get the drivers in, so I believe that we will be going one more time, and you're going to see it all from the beginning, the full 26 laps. It's a second chance for some drivers, those that had that disastrous start, like Widler, for example. Absolute disaster race start for him, so if he comes back in, then maybe a second chance is just what he needed to go back to the top.
Yes, certainly do. Oh, I have failed. Session. I think we've actually got. No, it's the same lobby. I think. 4-1. Join said session, but yeah, it seemed to have all kicked off at the wrong time. I think I'm gonna have to restart my game because I'm just forever joining Alex Santana. There are a few drivers raising points about it was at the end of lap 11. So I'm not sure if they're saying about the being a full restart or not. Oh, this is just a confusing one, Corey. It seems like Salam Bieda has decided, you know what? If I crash out, get a restart and I can maybe take the race lead off the front row of the grid again.
Well, we're going to go again. We are 19 strong, so everybody's back to give it one more time. We're going to go back to the quali order, and it's a complete and utter rerun. So hopefully we have a bit of a cleaner getaway for some drivers that are going to pray and hope that they get themselves out of trouble and keep it nice and clean and just get to where they need to be, up there in the fight and in the fray. Get through these pit stop phase strategies, and we'll see where things are going to go from here. But I don't know. We'll see, Max. It's a bit of a confusing one, this, but again, they get a rerun. So that first race, completely not out the window. It was more like, let's have a look at what could happen, and now here's what's going to happen.
Yep, it certainly is. And I mean, from those brief 11 laps, Corey, who do you have for your pick for the race victory on this restart?
Well, I hope Gobadi can just do another charge like we saw in those first opening laps. That was a beautiful run indeed. But I am holding out hope for Widler to have a good race this time after what we saw was chaos. So again, I'm holding out hope for Gobadi to give us another little sprint and a charge in those first opening laps. But I can't put a name on it yet. From what I've seen so far, it's obviously going to be Claudio Diaz and Widler fighting each other for victories in this round two, with the way that they were going at it in round one and the way that Diaz was just in control for the first part of that first race. Seemed very comfortable indeed, and was given that little bit of a time deduction on his pit stop. Could have lost a lot more time on the initial pit stop, but because it was under VSC on the initial entry, it didn't end up losing too much time. So everything's a bit unknown. It's a bit situational in that first race. So we'll wait and see how this one fares out.
Yeah, we certainly will. And apparently, when F5 had their issue as well here, it was also when the safety car came out. So some drivers are potentially saying, why don't we just turn off the safety car? So then we have no issues. But I don't know if that'll be allowed due to the fact we need at least some sort of intervention. There is a big crash, virtual safety car, or it's just going to be one of those things. And another thing, actually, these drivers are readying up without me because I've just only been able to restart my game. So, drivers, can you wait? But, of course, Corey as well for Ave Gabadi. He gets that 10-second time penalty taken away from him. Yes, he's further down the field again, but he gets that penalty taken away.
Yeah, that's crucial. That he had a 10-second time loss after doing very well, fighting through the order, getting into track position for the pit stop phase, and then lost 10 seconds in that phase and would have had to serve it on that second stop. But it's well and truly out of the window. Gets that reset, gets to go again, and maybe this time will slow down in time after having that bit of a practice run in the first race. Now he knows where to brake. Needs to brake a little bit earlier than he did before. That's all I can say on that one.
certainly do. And hopefully, I should be able to get in just before the race does get underway. And we should be able to catch the race start. Corey, you're going to have to keep me updated here. I think the drivers are just waiting in the pit lane.
At the minute, I'm on a loading screen. We're waiting for drivers to fully load
I've
in.
joined at the perfect time, ladies and gentlemen. So we are all safe. We are going to catch the race start. We're not going to be left behind. And watch it now. Ryan Grob says in the chat, watch it now be a full wet race. If that happens, Corey, I don't think we could get any more. It's not a full wet race. We are not going to have that added drama. But let's head trackside, ladies and gentlemen, where we do it all again. Everything we've just done, all that hard work we've just put in, yeah, scratch that, and we're going to go again.
Well, I had the race start last time. Max, why don't you take us away with this one?
Yes, I certainly shall. When the drivers hit the 5 red lights once more. Well, this has been an eventful about the last hour of our evenings. Of course, we started at 7 o'clock. It's now 8 o'clock, and we are only just starting the race again. That unfortunate incident. If there is another safety car here, Corey, I'm expecting there to be a race reschedulement. Able to get far into this one because it seems whenever there's a safety car here at Baku, Bobby decides to brake. We are just waiting for the drivers to get their setups on. Now we know it's a two-stop strategy. Most of the drivers will be starting on the mediums. Some may be on the hards. And are we going to have the same pandemonium we had on the opening 5 laps on that last race? Or are these drivers going to take things a little bit more easier, a little bit more cautiously, just make their way through nice and easily and unscathed? But the 5 red lights are now on. It is, of course, going to be Bieda and Diaz on the front row of the grid. 5 red lights are on, and we're underway here in Baku. It seems to be a very glitchy start to this one, for me at the very least, but Diaz is able to hold on for now, and he does hold on to that race lead as Bieda slots into second place. Santana versus Vidler over that 4th place in this one. Gabadi has dropped down behind Jeremy Gallinay as he's now pushing on against the Williams cars, or potentially Victor Vidler, so he might lose another place in this race. Vidler, as Gallinay goes straight on at turn 4, he went too hard on the brakes, and now down at turn 3, he goes straight into the escape road, and he drops down to last. And for Abe Gabadi, he's up to 6th place. Vidler down to 5th, Santana to 4th. Cavero and Casper Flack fighting over 11th place here. Around the outside goes the McLaren driver, and that's also Dennis Langrock going for a move potentially on Zalan Bieda. It seems to have a potential audio bug where the drivers are just full throttling it at every point in the circuit, and we've had another massive crash in the background. It's Tristan Janssen, Grob, and also Daniel Coyer involved, and just like we saw last time, lap 1 once again causes issues, and that is a virtual safety car here, Corey.
Yeah, we are back under virtual safety car. After a bit of a moment from the back there, we're getting Daniel Kuja back underway. Wing damage will come his way. Oh no, not too much. Did well to stay out of that, apparently. He was just sent spinning. He's got a full wing. I'm not seeing any damage on there, but could be ever so slight. It's the rest of the drivers that have been hit with the brunt of it. Ryan Grob has the most damage there, I think, missing both end plates and a big, huge chunk of that right side wing. That's ultimately going to need to be swapped right now, or he's going to suffer through the corners here to do one more lap. This is it. Hard tyres for Grob. He's going to have to swap off that wing.
Yeah, and Dennis Lamrock's going to come into pit lane as well. He picked up a 10-second time penalty for a collision, which I don't even think there was a collision between him and Bieda. And if there was, it was a very, very light piece of contact. And as you see, he's lucky there's a virtual safety car. I say that. We go back to green flag running once again. And just like we saw in that previous iteration here, Corey, about 6 cars come into pit lane after the first lap. And everyone once again on the mediums, except for Wojtek Steg on the hards.
And we're back racing once again. Everybody's getting away nice and cleanly. No too harsh of a challenge apart from those two at the back. You saw the order swap around a little bit. Well, that's those coming out of the pit lane. As we look back to the rest of the grid who are getting themselves nice and bonny underway. Zalan Bieda having a little nose on Claudio Diaz there, as well as Santana making himself known and wide in the mirrors of Zalan Bieda, looking to see if there's any open door before we get to Castle section. Not to come his way. Through we go to the top of the hill and back around to the left. Drivers closing up on those rear diffusers.
I think there was just another accident there between Max Veglars and Dennis Langrock there, Corey, and that nearly caused another rolling roadblock as it's all just kicking off. And I think these drivers, of course, as we mentioned in the first race, Corey, because the mediums don't last long, they have to be so aggressive. And around a circuit like this, being aggressive is not what you want to do, is it? You just don't want to be involved in any sort of issues. And unfortunately for the likes of Langrock, Veglars, Gallané, they've all been involved in issues because they're just overdriving the cars.
Yeah, just going a little bit too aggressively too early on. It's like I mentioned before that first race. First, you've got to finish the race. It's all about survival. But into turn one, Zalan Bieda's trying to go around the outside and pull that one off. Can he get ahead before we get to turn two? Or is Claudio Diaz going to fight it back? Yes, he is. Pulls ahead for turn two and has opened the door for Santana now to have a look and try and challenge for the overtake. He's side by side with the Alpine. Going to benefit with this coming to the inside line towards turn number three. Picking up the slipstream there from Claudio Diaz. Diaz trying to help out the William driver to help further hinder the attack from Zalan Bieda. They're still side by side for two corners now, keeping it nice and clean. This is fantastic racing, but Santana will pull ahead and is now putting a challenge on Diaz for P1.
Yeah, look at this from Alex Santana as Veglars has left the session. He's called it a day. And unfortunately for him, that's it. It's there is Santana to the inside of Claudio Diaz into turn 7. And Gabatti is also trying to move on the sister Williams car of Victor Vidler. And has Gabatti made it through? Yes, he has. Spectacular stuff there from Ave Gabatti. Santana just wasn't able to make it through. I'm going to try not to go on board with these drivers as much as possible to stop everybody at home from being deafened by the cars at full revs, as Lucas Baster got overtaken there by Damien Curiel, and Noel Gio is slowly trying to make his way further back up the field, but a poor exit out of turn 15 now means Cavero is all over the back of him as they head into turn 16. Who gets the better run out of the corner? It is the Haas driver, and he'll just be able to stay ahead of the McLaren for now. But if we look at the front of the field, will Santana be able to get past on Claudio Diaz as we head on to lap 3 of this Grand Prix, lap 4 of this Grand Prix? It's DRS open all the way down this train. Cavero's been able to get past Gio. Santana's able to get past Diaz, and Zalan Bieda's trying to follow him through. Once again to the inside is the Alpine at turn 1, and this time around it looks like he's got that move done. Yes, he has. In Gabatti now trying to find his way through. Diaz potentially losing three places in the span of 2 corners as he now exits out of turn 2. Here comes Gabatti with the DRS. He now moves up into 3rd place, and Victor Vidler might get involved, but no, he's just not close enough on the brakes as Noel Gio actually has come into pit lane early on to potentially try and undercut. Same with Lucas Baser as well.
Beautiful stuff there from Avi Gabatti, once again setting the challenge off on these medium compound tyre that we saw in that first running. We're now in the second running, and once again a repeat process. Consistency is key, and for Gabatti absolutely pulling off the overtakes where needed. Sits himself in 3rd position. Now will he follow the same pit stop strategy? We'll wait and find out in 2 laps time. If we see that prancing pony dive into the pit lane.
Yes, we certainly shall. Will Gabatti carry on with what was his plan in the last race, or will he just potentially switch things up, become less predictable, and make the other drivers have to adapt on the fly? And of course we need to see when Santana comes into pit lane, because we never got an accurate representation of what the Williams driver's plan was at the beginning of the evening, just due to the fact he got that front wing damage and was forced into a pit stop. And as he has a comfy 6/10 advantage over Zalan Bieda, which will be cut down over the course of this main straight. Bieda is under an abundance of pressure here from Ave Gabatti as they actually both dive into pit lane, and will Gabatti speed this time? He's late onto the brakes, pushes the Alpine into the pits, but for Gabatti, he gets it right this time. He amends the mistake from the last race. And Victor Vidler also follows him into the pit lane. A lot of drivers switching over to those hards now.
Here we go. 4 laps have been completed. On them are already saying goodbye. A lot of drivers choosing this strategy. It will be a 2-stop for these. They're going to feel a bit more confident now as they come out on the hard tyres. They can go for a little bit longer. They're off that medium phase. The medium certainly not being a favourable tyre for these drivers. But going on board, Fiddler comes out just behind Gio. And Gio managed to get a bit of an undercut there with Bejna. But Zalambieda and Abigabade lead out over those two. And then everybody else yet to box. So Zalambieda, net P1, Abigabade, net P2, and Lucas Bejna with a little bit of an undercut follows in on net P3.
Yes, Bejna and Gio have been able to undercut quite nicely. Now up into a net third and fourth. As these drivers will surely get the undercut on Alex Santana, as Claudio Diaz isn't within DRS range either. So if him and Curiel stay out, Curiel might be able to get a potential overtaking opportunity, but he's 8 tenths back currently. Is the Alpine heading into turn 15 and slams into the wall, just lucky enough to avoid any front wing damage, but the rear end of the car really steps out there as he turned the car in. Just a very lucky boy to keep the car out of the wall and hit it square on to make sure he didn't pick up any front wing damage. But does Santana come into pit lane this time around? Does he react to Zalambieda? It looks like he will. Will Claudio Diaz come in, or will he carry on that strategy of last race? He'll carry on that strategy of staying out longer. And for Damien Curiel, he also comes into pit lane. Now crucially here, Corey, where does Santana come out in relation to Bieda and Gabadi?
I'm still on board with Bieda. He's powering down towards us. Checkered flag, but here comes Gabadi looking to challenge for that position with the DRS. It's easy pickings. They come down towards turn 1 and picked up those positions nice and easy. But how far is Santana going to drop as this train starts to come out? Hits the pit lane. Is he going to go side by side with Bieda? He's not, just falls behind. But this is beautiful there for Santana. Didn't lose out too much time on that undercut attempt from Gabadi and Bieda. Santana right back in the fight.
Yeah, nicely done there from Gabadi, and we're now going to see what he can do now, leading a train of cars. As, of course, Victor Fiddler was able to get past Niall there for 8th place in this Grand Prix. Will be net. 9th place in this Grand Prix will be a net 5th place after the drivers in front come into pit lane. And about what this Williams driver can do as well. Of course, championship leader coming into the evening, be able to at least make himself a bit more comfortable further up the order. Claudio Diaz, of course, staying out longer here, Corey. The more he stays out, the further he's going to fall down this train. So is it just a matter of cutting off his potential strategy short, or is he going to look at that tyre delta and pray that works into his advantage? Of course, if he boxes now, he'll probably come out around about Curiel and Gio. If he stays out even longer, he could be with the likes of Tristan Janssen and Daniel Kuya.
Things are going to get interesting now as these alternate strategies, these opposite tyres are going to start to come into effect. Wojciech Steg, I'm going to say, he's on the hard tyres, so he's not going to box out of those. He will go into the lead at some point and just keep running, as he did make an overtake there on Andrea as Casper Flack is into the pits now, swapping out for the hard compounded tyres. How far down is Casper going to fall? Down to P11 so far as the rest of the train seems to follow suit. May fall down the entire order, if not just hold it out in 13th there ahead of his teammates. But back to the front, or the next lead here, as Abigabadi's got a bit of breathing space. The rear wings are open for some, but no challenges are coming just yet. Santana has a look to see, is he close enough? Can he make a lunge? Just not quite yet. He's going to have to wait one more lap and close up a little bit more than that.
Yeah, it certainly is. And are we going to see some potential changes throughout the rest of this train, as for Santana looking to get closer to Zalambieda? Was able to get past the Alpine in that first stint, and now on this stint will have to try and recreate that feat, and he's all over the back of the Hungarian as we head through the castle section. And for Zalambieda, he's actually nearly dropped out of DRS range from Gabadi, so he could see the prancing horse gallop off into the distance and potentially just dominate this race. He's had oh so strong race pace in the about 21 laps we have done of this race. And for Zalambieda, he is out of DRS range now, Corey, and if it stays like that by the time he reaches the detection zone in a few moments' time, Santana, you would expect, surely will get by as Claudio Diaz gets passed by Wojciech Steg.
Oh, that was beautiful running there from Gabadi and Bieda. Bieda's burnt all his battery as well as Gabadi to try and fend off and break that DRS. Gabadi doing everything he needed to keep it away. Now Santana goes through on Bieda's. Bieda was not able to use the DRS as that defensive aid, but in that overtake, Santana has gained a bit closer to Gabadi and has now got the DRS to follow on through and close up a little bit more. Gabadi needs to focus on recharging that battery back up just so he can defend one more time when Santana comes lurking for that net P1 position.
Santana will try to get that move done, of course. He has got that DRS thanks to the move he did on, of course, Zalan Bieda, Ryan Grob. Our third retirement of this race, 3 retirements in the pit lane, unfortunately, to see for Alex Santana. It's really going to be between him and Ave Gabadi in this one. Surely you would think as it currently stands, because they've got so much more pace than the rest of that field. And Williams driver against the Ferrari. These two, Gabadi picked up a 3rd place, so this, if he gets a race victory here tonight, he certainly could pick up the championship lead in the 2nd round of the season. It would really kickstart his campaign with a bang, and for Alex Santana will be his 1st points. If you can do that with a race victory in the 2nd round, that is exactly what he would love to do. But as we exit out of turn 17, the DRS zone coming up once more. Santana all over the heels of Ave Gabadi. You expect a move to potentially be on the cards.
Williams is charging, getting closer still, looks towards that inside line, and he's going to pull this one off with ease. That rear wing open, that potential to gain those extra kilometres an hour, make everything work here, especially with such a long back straight to get yourself down towards a checkered flag. I could potentially see a drag race to the line to see this victory off, depending on how close these drivers get to each other. It's just so long. With the DRS and the slipstream, the overtake is done very easily. Now with Santana in control, Ave Gabadi is going to have to focus on the recharge of the battery, get himself into an optimum position to fight back against the Williams man, who's looking oh so strong here now as we get into this 2nd stint.
Yeah, we certainly do get into the thick part of this 2nd stint, the meaty part of this 2nd stint, where we're just in that phase of the tyres slowly starting potentially drop off and the tyre management really coming in to effect. And of course, for Ave Gabadi, he needs to make sure he needs to stay within Santana's DRS, and at the moment just teetering on the edge of potentially losing that. So if Santana has a bit more pace in the tank over the course of the next few corners, he can potentially see himself clear of the Ferrari, and there will be no overtake from the car behind to potentially reel him back in, because Zalan Bieda is nearly out of DRS range himself. So as we exit out of the 17, it is Gabadi just within DRS assistance range. And for Alex Santana, he just wasn't able to break away. But these drivers are nearly a full pit stop clear of the likes of Diaz, Andrea, and also Wojtek Steg. Diaz here, Corey, he's hoping for a big miracle, even potentially he's actually, I think, here going for a 1-stop in this one as Diaz. Essentially get this one to the end and pray his tyres hold on.
In fact, he's run those mediums for 9 laps so far now. You can see the drop-off, you can see the pace difference as the rest of the pack start to catch back up, although they've already completed 1 stop. Diaz, a 1-stop well and truly could be on the cards. He's done 9 laps on those medium tyres. The hards, certainly could he extend them 15, 16 laps. They're going to feel absolutely diabolical, a little bit worse for wear towards the end, but is it possible? Is the time gain enough to maintain what could be a race victory at the end of this 26 laps Grand Prix here in Baku?
Certainly could be. And for Nalgio, he tried the different version of the strategy this time around. It's not going his way. He's down to 11th place now in this race and a second behind Alexis Cavero, and it's just not been the strongest of lobby restarts for the Frenchman. He's now coming under pressure from Casper Flack behind. At the front of this pack, Alex Santana has caught the back of Andrea Manzua, as we're going to see the kick Sauber under all sorts of pressure from the Williams man. And Abe Gabadi might want to try and follow him through here, Santana, because he needs to at least keep within touching distance of the Ferrari. It's going to be DRS open for both Santana and Gabadi. Andrea will come into pit lane. Same with Wojtek Szczeg as well. Diaz also in, so he's going to need to do a lengthy stint on those hards to get those to the very end. And with that added DRS aid here, Corey, it was Santana able to stay in front of Gabadi, but potentially down into turn 3, we might see the Ferrari have an opportunity.
I am on board with the Ferrari now as he is looking to close up, moves out of that dirty air, that hot air to try and cool that engine down. You don't want to lose your peak performance. It can happen as that temperature starts to rise in that engine bay. You lose your acceleration and speed out of corners. It can cost you massive time. So sometimes you see them move out of it. It also helps on cooling the tyres. So as well, a big factor, especially as we get into the meat of it, as you say, the thick of it in the middle of this second stint, where those tyres are starting to feel the drop off. They're starting to get a little bit slidey, a little bit unpredictable, but the drivers focus on the tyre management now.
Yeah, the tyre management now really into play, especially at the front of this field when you're on 5 to 6 lap hold tyres. Thinking about how far you can take them until your next pit stop. I'm expecting the drivers to probably coming around about lap 16 to 17, potentially lap 18 if they've got the gap. And Gabadi and Santana might actually the gap over Zalan Bieda, who's now 1.2 seconds behind on the pair in front of him. He's going to be without DRS assistance, and Victor Vidler might now be able to capitalise on this. Of course, your current championship leader heading into the evening, and him and Abe Gabadi could be pretty much level on points if Gabadi takes the race victory and Vidler finishes in third. So Vidler getting really close to the back of Zalan Bieda. He gets the move done. Up into third place he goes, and Corey now really in this field, especially the likes of Cavero, Basner and Curiel. A lot of gaps starting to form throughout this train as Daniel Koya is able to get past Tristan Janssen.
The drivers are running their own little race now. We're at the meat of the midpoint of the race where you've got to think, okay, is it a two-stop? I've got to do a two-stop. Can I extend these hard tyres a little bit longer? Are the mediums going to be a factor? The mental mind games that are going on in these drivers' heads right now is insane. They've got to drive the car, but also think, what should I do next? We're not at that end point. We're not focusing on the end game just yet. We're more in the, how long can I go? Do I need to box now? What is the best choice to make early on in this stint? We're getting towards the midpoint of lap 12. This is where you saw everything go disastrously wrong. We can pray that it doesn't happen again and we stay focused and on track. A couple drivers have taken things a bit more cautiously, gone for a bit more of a safe approach into this race. We don't want to see that repeat. So the risky maneuvers that you saw in that first initial race run are not happening as much as they are in this second running. They're trying to be a bit more conservative, not risk their positions. And for the likes of Widler, one of the drivers that had a disaster first race, has proved crucial in maintaining what is a high points finish so far, if not a challenge for what could be P1 and 2. But with that gap open up ever more, it was 1.5 seconds to Gabadi. He's now 2.1. The loss of DRS is proving to be crucial as those tyres start to wear away and burn off that crucial and vital rubber that you need.
Yeah, it certainly is, as we saw Gabadi take the race lead as Gio and Flack get past there on Lucas Basner. So up to 7th place goes the Haas driver, and 8th place for the Aston Martin. I think Flack might try and get a move done into turn 3 if he's able to get a good enough run out of the second corner, but he's just not seeming to be close enough to go for a lunge to the inside line. Abe Gabadi, of course, able to take that race lead away. He's now half a second clear of Alex Santana. So Williams 2-3 at the moment. Zalan Bieda able to just keep with Victor Vidler as we're both on 8 lap old tyres, and he's not bleeding as much time now, so potentially just struggled when he was out there on his own, and now he's within someone's DRS range. Hold on somewhat and just learn off the driver in front what lines to take and how to manage these tyres a bit better. He's got, of course, got his teammate Damien Curiel all over the back of him, so we might see a swap between the two Alpines in the matter of laps. So for Curiel, he's seeming like a very quick driver at the moment. He's on 7 lap old hards alongside Alex Santana. So it's really just about how these tyres feel for each driver, how well they are at tyre management at this somewhat phase of a race. And for Victor Vidler, he's really starting to close up to the back of his teammates. So here, Corey, has Santana used up a bit too much steam too early?
Oh, it seems to be. I'm not entirely sure yet because the gap is still well and truly there, still well and truly within striking distance. Maybe just focusing on getting that battery back up to a better position, not really risking any moves. If it's going to be more of an exchange in DRS between these front two, as we do see Damien Curiel into the pits, he's choosing to swap out once again for another set of hard compound tyres. Interesting choice, still had plenty of life left in the hard tyres he was running, only going for 8 laps. He's now choosing to box early, undercut potential, and is he going to go for the full stint towards the end, or will we see any sort of other tyre come into play? Is he expecting something to happen, or is it just a Hail Mary curve ball, trying something, a bold attempt for what could be, I don't know, you never know, never say never, a race victory to come that Alpine driver's way?
Yeah, it is certainly going to be all about how Curiel now does on this undercut. Lanrock has also came in with him, but Lanrock being so far back in this race after that 10-second time penalty, that will not really mean anything to this race. But with Gabadi now getting a second clear of Alex Santana, the prancing horse might just be starting to flex its muscles at the front of this field, and seeing, of course, Damien Curiel coming to pit lane, potentially just up the ante a little bit. Push on a little bit more. Start to use a bit more of that tyre as we reach that halfway stage of the race. See what you can possibly deliver to at least try and negate the undercut effect. Of course, Damien Curiel, he'll be on the worst tyres out of that top pack. Will Niall Gio come into pit lane? So he's, of course, on 10-lap old hards, or is he going to plan on staying out a little bit longer? Gabadi, he reacts and comes into pit lane. Santana stays out. Vidler comes into pit lane. Bieda follows him in. Cavero in. Gio stays out. Casper Flack stays out. So does Beister. But for Ave Gabadi, a crucial pit stop as Cavero picks up 10 seconds.
Oh, damaging there for Alexi Cavero, but that is absolutely crucial for Gabadi to cover off that threat, that looming threat of undercut to come his way from Curiel as he comes out now and stays well and truly ahead, maintaining a 2-car lead over Curiel. It was a bold attempt, but everybody else is following suit. This is it now. Pit stop phase is complete towards the end for some drivers. Other drivers opting to go a little bit longer. Claudio Diaz has already completed 4 laps, going for that one stop, but he's got a 3-second gap ahead of Gabadi. Gabadi on the tyre deficit is certainly going to start to break that down within a couple laps time when he gets those hards up to a working temperature.
Yes, he certainly will, and Victor Vidler was able to come out in front of Damien Curiel, so that undercut hasn't really worked too much to his advantages as Diaz is able to get past there on Tristan Janssen for 6th place in this Grand Prix. Janssen demoted down to 7th. Christian will just have to try and really eat hard tyres out or potentially come in this time around, depending on what Niall does, as Wojtek Steg is up into 3rd. Of course, Steg here is on a somewhat alternate strategy here, Corey. He went from the hards to the mediums. He was able to get past Claudio Diaz, and he could potentially be a threat now to a race victory if he's able to push on these mediums for long enough. He could be on a very, very rogue strategy where he does a hard medium potentially. Santana's coming to pit lane, and he could see himself take this race win away. But no, he's going to come into pit lane now alongside Gio. He's surely going to go onto a set of the hard compounder tyres. So let's see where they come out in relation to the likes of Zalan Bieda and Damien Curiel.
Oh, there goes Widler, there goes Beard ahead of Wojtek Steg. Gio's gone through, Jeremy Gallanier goes through, and that is it. They've lost out quite a bit of time there, but they have got the freshest tyres so far out of the majority of the boxes. It's Santana who is the freshest out of the lot, and he's just behind Tristan Janssen. Well, not just behind, he's got 3 seconds to gain on Tristan Janssen when he does gain that time back, as Tristan has yet to complete another pit stop, running 11 laps so so far. It's just ultimately a when going to happen, not an if, a when it's going to happen. And Santana's got some work to do to get back to Gabadi, who was his current rival. They were fighting away, and the undercut, the reaction from Gabadi to cover off what could have been a looming threat from behind has cost him just a little bit of time. But for Santana, I don't know if it's going to be too much of a worry. He is gaining some time back as Gabadi finds himself in a bit of traffic there, slowing him down, hindering that progress, as Diaz is also caught in some traffic behind Lucas Beijner, running 12 laps on those hards.
Yeah, it seems that there is some bottlenecks at the moment for Alex Santana. He's going to be stuck behind Tristan Janssen for potentially another DRS straight. And for Ave Gabadi, he needs to get past both Claudio Diaz and Lucas Beijner with immediate effect. Because look at the gap he's got over Alex Santana at the moment. It is an absolute dream. It's a gift of a gap he's got over the Williams car. And he's got to try and get past the pair of them. It's 3 wide. Down that main straight, Beijner comes into pit lane. And Diaz, is he going to be overtaken or is he going to put up a hard defense against the Ferrari? He does not. And Gabadi moves himself up into second place in this train as Janssen came into pit lane. Gabadi into boot also got the fastest lap of this race and is still going to potentially come under pressure from Claudio Diaz. Just look at the traction that 4 laps of tyre age difference does to each car here, Corey. Gabadi was 2 tenths clear heading into the corner. He exited the corner nearly 6 tenths clear. That's how important fresher tyres are around here in Baku. That 4 laps is the difference between 4 tenths of a second. So nearly a tenth of a second a lap you gain over your competitor through those slow speed corners.
Well, just look at how long the lap is in comparison. You're going for what is 1 minute and 40 seconds. That does eat away at these tyres. That does produce quite a bit of degradation. And on a track like Baku, where the walls are so tight, the corners are aggressive, it just demolishes that wear. So those 4 laps may not seem a lot, but on a track like this, a circuit like this, it is absolutely huge. You saw the mediums being swapped out after 4 laps, 5 laps, even just 6 laps. Doesn't seem like a lot, but with the distance and the corners and the aggressive style of this circuit, you have to think about it because they do eat your tyres alive.
Certainly do eat your tyres alive. Let's look at this as well. Santana's now stuck behind Claudio Diaz, and he is potentially going to be for another straight as we see Casper Flack come into pit lane and Diaz stays out. And for Claudio Diaz, he's now that man in the middle ground. He's the man holding Santana back, who's just set the fastest lap of this race from Ave Gabadi. The gap, 1.9 seconds between Gabadi and Santana. Vidler's dropped away from his teammate. He's probably going to pick up a 3rd place in this one. Does Claudio Diaz fight aggressively against Alex Santana, or does he do what he just did with Ave Gabadi? Just allow him through, not use too much wear, because he's trying to go potentially on a 1-stop on this strategy. But for Santana here, Corey, he's going to be held up through the entirety of the middle sector, and that's really going to hurt his race-winning chances. Yellow flag in sector 1. Oh, it's Casper Flack! Virtual safety car. Virtual safety car has been deployed, and for Claudio Diaz, that might be a lifeline in itself to get onto another set of the hards.
Oh, absolutely. 10 seconds. Severe penalty for Tristan Janssen for hitting Casper Flack. Now, I'm not going to go deep diving into controversy, but they are the hallmarks of an incident between 2 drivers, unless he's hit the crashed car of Casper Flack. Keep your eyes peeled on the stewarding to come on that one. If you have the ability to see anything like that in the Discord, you may want to keep your eyes open before we go into speculation. But we are under virtual safety car. It's offered Claudio Diaz a free pit stop, providing these yellows stay out for just long enough to get to that pit lane.
Yeah, he certainly is indeed. For Claudio Diaz, is he going to be able to pull this one off and bring this one into the pits and somewhat recover a strategy that's not gone well at all here, Corey? It is just not worked in his favour. He stayed out. No, he's going to carry on staying out. He's not going into the pit lane. And he's going to stay out on those old tyres. Expect him to drop like a stone, because he will have very little grip compared to these drivers around him. And I think, yeah, it's just this strategy. It was very risky from Claudio trying the one-stop, wasn't it, Corey? As we go back racing once again, but it is just severely not worked, and it's underperformed big time.
No, it's just not really worked out to his favour. And now, as we get going back to green flags, he's just lost a little bit of time to the lead there, and he's now under massive threat from Santana. Santana around the outside, though, coming towards turn 4, picks him off, and I saw Carbon fly in the background. Somebody's hit the wall and has crucially damaged their wing in a phase of the race. You don't want to pick up any damage. The pit stops are completed, and I think it is Diaz who's missing an end plate there, so crucially has cost him after that virtual safety car. He's now looking a little bit sliding, a little bit wobbly as we get out of turn 7.
Yeah, Claudio Diaz, it is just not gone his way. The man that was fighting for the race victory last time out, got that 3-second time penalty, took pole position here today. He tried something different, but that difference has not worked at all, and he's now coming up under pressure from the man he was battling all evening long with just a week ago, Victor Vidler, to hold on to a podium position. But with that wing damage, with those older tyres, I do not expect this fight to last very long at all. So out of turn 17 we go, and look at Vidler. He's pushing Claudio Diaz through this next set of corners, and it's going to be DRS open for the Williams driver. Or will it? Will he even get to the detection zone behind Claudio Diaz? Yes, he did. He'll open up the DRS now, and he breezes by, and the Williams moves himself up into 3rd place. Next person to try and get past Claudio Diaz will be Zalan Bieda, as Alexi Cavero gets past Manzua, who is also in a similar situation. The man in 4th place.
Overtakes coming your way as we get going on tour 20 of 26. 6 laps to go. Plenty of action to come your way. These drivers are now going to try and close up these gaps, but these gaps are quite large. A lot of work to do for some, but other drivers are facing the brunt of the worst tyres, Andrea being one of them. Diaz also following suit. Both drivers 9-lap used tyres. Dennis Landrock on 6, so he's going to feel a little worse for wear, but not too much he can do. He's also down in 15th, well and truly off the pace after what has been a bit of a disaster race for Dennis Landrock and Jeremy Galania with that incident earlier on in the first stint. But looking back to the front, if you think about it, the fight is well and truly on for the win. Santana has closed up ever more to Gabadi there. This is going to get interesting pretty quickly.
It is certainly going to get interesting between this top 2, and that prediction earlier on here, Corey, where you said about Santana and Gabadi potentially having a drag race to the line on that final lap, that still has a possibility to become a reality. So for Santana, he's within 6/10 of Ave Gabadi, be able to get this done this time around. The Williams driver will catch and gain more and more in that slipstream, and the drag reductions enabled, but he just pulled out to the left-hand side. He's turned the battery off. Wait another day to get the move done. Vidler looks comfortable in that 3rd place at the moment. It really is this battle between the top 2. Alex Santana's to play for, because at the moment the Williams driver seems to have a lot more pace. Prancing Horse.
Yeah, really closing up that gap, and he's now looking to make himself large and looming in that left side mirror of Gabadi there, but Gabadi feels no pressure at all from the Williams man lurking behind, looking to challenge for that position. I wonder if Gabadi is now focusing more on managing the tyres, trying to save as much tread, as much rubber as possible for what will be a masterclass in defence, or if not, a master attack to fight back on Santana. If Santana challenges for this position a little bit too early, he'll be on the back foot. He won't have that DRS, that one and only potential that could help you in this drag race towards that checkered flag coming out of that mighty long Sector 3.
Yep, Sector 3 is where you need to be, at least within a few tenths of a second of the driver in front. It is so crucial, especially in these dying laps, if you want to get a move done, to at least be within half a second heading into that final part of the lap. And that's exactly what Alex Santana has done. Half a second between Gabadi and Alex Santana in the slipstream. He will just keep gaining more and more and more as this straight continues. By the time he reaches the DRS zone, he might potentially see himself within a tenth of the Ferraris. open up the DRS now. He's looking to the inside line against Gabati, and he gets the move done. As easy as you like. But it does seem here, Corey, that half a second, is the golden number as Curiel is able to get past Claudio Diaz as he moves up into 5th place. But half a second is the golden rule, especially on that final lap, because Alex Santana, by the time he reached that start-finish line, was just about a front wing ahead here, Corey.
That's beautiful insight there for Santana, and also good insight for Gabati. Gabati knows the half a second is the threat. Anything over that, you may have half a chance of defending that drag race to the line. You may have half a chance of hitting that checkered flag first. So now both drivers know, keep them out of that half-second point on that final lap as you come into Sector 3, and the win is yours. But for Santana, starting to push a little bit more aggressively now, that gap opening up to 7/10. Gabati's going to have to think of a game plan here, not lose out too much time because those laps are ticking down.
They certainly are. When we cross the line, we'll have 4 more racing laps to go for the top 2 to contend with. They have really broken away from Victor Vithla, who's now 3.2 seconds behind, and he's broken away himself from Zalan Bieda, who's 4.5 seconds behind the Williams man. So making our way down into the final braking zone of the circuit. Gabati still within DRS range, and that is crucial. That's all he has to do for the next couple of laps until the end of lap 26, is just stay within DRS zone. But when he gets to that final lap, he needs to be within at least 0.5 of a second if he wants any chance of getting that move done on the run to the line. Is this going to be shaping up for a potential race victory for Gabati, or is that going to be a potential victory for Alex Santana? And can Williams go back-to-back with both their drivers? As Diaz has been passed by Cavero, Mansour has is actually under pressure from Daniel Coyer after Steg was able to get by. And for Zalan Bieda and Damien Curiel, they're fighting for bragging rights, aren't they here, Corey? What Alpine is going to finish in front of the other, that is going to be their main competitive objective.
The Alpines, team tactics, will we see this interplay, one faster than the other? Early days into the season, you'll certainly see teammates go side by side in this championship. It's a drivers' championship as well as the constructors, but for the drivers, what is most important is their individual championships. So I expect to see Damien Curiel at least challenge for this. Seems to have the pace over Bieda. Bieda's been struggling throughout this this final stint. He's lost quite a lot of time, especially being gapped by those at the front. Even Victor Wiggler, though, has managed to break almost a 5-second gap. Bieda has really struggled here in this final phase of the Grand Prix, and Damien Curiel is picking, waiting, biding his time to pull off the overtake and move ahead. If not, and there is team tactics at play, then he's just waiting it out and going to cross that checkered flag with his teammate to lock out 4th and 5th position.
Yeah, 4th and 5th will certainly be theirs as Cavero, even if he does get by. We'll have that 10-second time penalty and we'll get that position revoked from his grasp for Curiel and Bieda. It's just about bringing this one home. I wouldn't be surprised if they just decide, you know what, we're just going to sit behind one another, because, of course, the points are so crucial in a championship like this, and Curiel knows that. He won the F4 title 2 seasons ago without winning a single race. That's how much he knows. Points and consistency is more important than going for an overtake that potentially could go completely wrong. But he's got a nice exit out of turn 2. But Bieda has just got a bit of a better one. He's not going to be able to see himself through. We've got 3 laps to go. Well, more 2.5 laps to go at this stage of the race as Dennis Langrock retires in the pit lane. It was just an unfortunate race there for the Mercedes, wasn't it, Corey? After such a good qualifying, picks up a time penalty, which I don't even believe should have been a time penalty.
No, see, I agree with you on that. I don't think it should have been a time penalty. The game deems it be, and it's been given a slap on the wrist for the Haas driver, but it happens, and for Casper Flack, he got the brunt of it. He's not even going to finish this Grand Prix. But for now, we're getting ready to come down towards Sector 3, and the battles that you have been waiting for are starting to open up. Gabadi's closed up a little bit more now as we come to that Sector 3 flag. You knew 7/10 was not enough to pull off an overtake, and he's within that half second. So I asked the question last time. I always ask a question in certain races. Would you rather be in front or would you rather be behind? I think in this scenario, I'd much rather be behind. I don't know about you, Max.
I don't know, because of course you have that issue of overdriving the car behind the car in front of you, of course, on that final lap. If you're just balancing on a knife edge of that gap to the car in front, but then of course for Santana, if Gabadi is within range, he's going to be a sitting duck. So it's one of those situations where it's all about how the race plays out. I would say I'd rather be behind, because then you've got something to put onto. You're not as cautious, and you potentially see yourself get really close to the back of the car in front. But with 1.5 laps to go, will it be Gabadi? Will it be Santana? Only we'll have to wait and see. But at the moment, Gabadi doing everything he can on this penultimate tour to at least stay within DRS range. As Gio actually gets past Diaz.
Well, he's doing everything he needs to do. He knows he needs to stay within that half-second gap, and that's exactly where he's staying. Very close to breaking out of it, but just on the fringes, doing what is needed. Focusing on the recharging of the battery, keeping it up to 100%. You need to get it there, get it ready, because the driver in front is certainly getting his ready to try and defend against your attack. Gabadi looking a little bit slidey there as we get going out of turn 12. Was trying to keep the car collected. He's lost the time that's needed. He needs to pull back at least 2/10 to have a striking chance coming down into Sector 3. We've seen this happen before, and as it just fallen out of grasp, a little bit of wall banging there, the Ferrari is really sending it hard, trying to pull back that time. But here we go to start what will be the final tour. He needs to stay within that half second, cannot let Santana pull any further ahead.
No, he certainly cannot, as we're about to start the final lap of this Grand Prix, as Gio is actually able to get past Diaz this time around in quite an unorthodox place, so that might see Diaz straight back through on the Haas driver. And at the front of the field, Gabadi half a second behind heading into turn 1. It's not looking good for the Ferrari, and for Santana, he might make it a double here for Williams. As we've got Steg, Diaz and Gio 3 wide down the main straight. Gio's lost out to the pair of them, and Steg might be able to move up into 7th place here. He's still the inside line, but no, Diaz is able to hold on for now. We're going to quickly keep an eye on this battle before switching over to that race lead. It's Steg now around the outside of Diaz. He's into the wall and picks up some front wing damage, and that might now allow the Haas driver to capitalise on the pair of them. He's going for the move. Actually, Diaz picks up some front wing as well, as Steg will defend the inside aggressively against the V-carb, and Gio says, thank you very much. I'll move around the outside. It's a repeat of what we saw on that previous tour, with Diaz now around the outside at turn 4, as they're still squabbling on oh so aggressively. Round the outside goes Noel Gio through turns 5 and then into 6. He gets the move done. Now Diaz won't be able to fight back. And at the front of the field, look at this. Gabadi within 0.3 of a second of Alex Santana. It's been brewing for the past few laps. Is the run to the line going to be oh so crucial for Gabadi, who slaps the wall on the exit of 15, but he's within that golden circle. He's within that golden time. He's within half a second, and this surely now will be Ave Gabadi potentially powering past Alex Santana. It's all about that DRS zone. He'll be gaining in the slipstream and slowly and steadily eating into the wheel tracks of the Williams driver. Will it be Santana? Will it be Gabadi? As we make our way to the start-finish line now, here comes Gabadi, and he takes it! Only just! He just about gets the line by 0.006 of a second. Ave Gabadi timed his run to perfection, and he's able to pull off a fantastic drive. And commiserations to Alex Santana, who just misses out by 0.006 of a second. It won't be a Williams double. Ave Gabadi and Victor Vidler will be separated by 1 point heading into round 3. And oh my word, what a run to the line that was. Ave Gabadi wins here in Baku, and he just about snatches that race victory away from Alex Santana.
That was absolutely electric coming out of that third sector there. You saw how close it got, 0.006 of a second. I don't think it can get closer than that here in Baku. Time to perfection from that prancing pony. And to the top, takes a race victory. Round 2 belongs to Abe Gabadi.
That was really like a horse race there for the prancing horse. Something you would see more at Ascot than you would at Azerbaijan. But that was certainly a brilliant drive from Ave Gabadi. He just looked so in control of the whole race, and so did Alex Santana as well. And for the second time in 2 weeks here, Corey, 2 separate Spaniards have had race victories taken from their grasp. Claudio Diaz, it was all down to an incident with Victor Vidler, and Santana, 0.006 of a second. That was oh so close. It was by a hair that Ave Gabadi won by, but it was Gabadi, Santana, Vidler, Bieda, Curiel, Steg, Shio, Goya, Diaz, and Cavero rounding out your top 10. Couldn't get the rest of the order, but let's head back to me and Corey, of course, in the commentary box. But Corey, wow, what an ending that was, and to win it by a hair. That's just something you're really tensing into that moment across the line.
That was absolutely electric stuff. You know, you can see it coming, especially on a track like Baku with that mighty long Sector 3 straight. It's all about timing that run to perfection, and it gets oh so close to the checkered flag. You saw it for yourself. It was a prediction that came true. You see it happen on tracks like Brazil, here in Baku. Anything with that mighty long final straight, even so much as Mexico City, you can see it happen. It happens on all the tricky, cautious tracks that have that mighty long back straight, and here we see it. But for Abe Gabadi, a beautiful victory, much needed to help him along in the championship, and that you couldn't ask for anything more. Widler had his second chance and did still manage to get a high points finish, so this battle between Diaz and Widler is yet to continue, but Diaz didn't have the best second race there. Maybe he can come back in round 3. It is still also early days and still a lot of racing to come your way in this season.
It certainly is indeed. Still plenty to play for. Of course, it's only round 2, but what a way to kickstart both of Victor Vidler and Gabadi's campaigns with a 3rd place and a race victory. And the only reason Vidler's a point ahead heading into the next round is because he got that crucial pole position point. But about those 2 drivers, they have joined the waiting room. So Corey, shall we bring in Victor Vidler first? He was the man who finished 3rd, and then Gabadi afterwards. Let's hear from the man who came into the evening championship leader and will leave championship leader here, Victor Vidler. Hello, Victor. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Hello.
Well, congratulations on your evening. It seemed like a crazy evening for you, of course, with the incidents in the first race. Just how did the whole evening go for you? It just seemed like absolute chaos. What was going through your mind?
Honestly, everything and nothing at all. Like that was a chaos race. First one was really unfortunate, just going 3 wide into corner before castle section, so I just couldn't do anything. And then obviously restart because I had 2-minute pit stop. So luckiest 2-minute pit stop of my career, so that's good. And then yeah, second race, honestly, strategy was perfect. Really managed it well. It was unfortunate I couldn't keep with Alex at the end there, because if I could have stuck with DRS, I might have been able to be in the fight there. But lonely race after the last pit stop, but really happy I managed to get P3 after all that.
A really valiant effort from you, and yeah, it was more like an endurance race, that one, than a F1 race, with having the 2 pretty much races. You had a race and a half in that one, and yeah, it was just that game-breaking bug was your safer. But how did you feel about your qualifying? Of course, you started, I think, in 4th place. Did you think you had any more time in the lap, or that just all?
I had definitely more time in the lap. Like obviously, like pole was always possible, but at the same time, I hadn't practiced enough for this race because I've been very busy, and consistency is really hard on this track. So I was honestly quite happy starting P4 on this track.
Certainly is difficult circuits that can, especially any practice, and of course you still come out of this one in the championship lead. I know it's early days, extremely early, only round 2 of the championship. The 1 point ahead of Ave in this one, but just what's your game plan for the rest of the? Still just at the moment take everything as it comes, race by race, or there's still a big picture focus on that title?
Hard to say at the moment. I would say focus on the title. Like my aim is the title, obviously, but I'm taking every race as best as I can, trying to enjoy it at the same time because I drive best when I enjoy it, and yeah. So I'm just trying to enjoy it at the moment and take it race by race.
Working exactly in favour, and of course head to Spielberg next week. In one question, first of all, will you be racing at Austria? Second of all, are you confident at the Red Bull Ring?
The short answer is no. I am not here next week.
Ah, no. Victor, you're not going to keep up podium streak, but that is fine. We could potentially be a race winner. But and also quickly, another question in that one. How difficult were those mediums? Because, of course, we saw everybody getting off them pretty much within 4 or 5 laps. Just how quickly did they wear compared to that hard compound tyre?
The mediums were actually just terrible on this track. It's the C5, so they just wear like 8% a lap when you're pushing, 8-9% a lap when you're pushing. So it's really, and they overheat, so it's really difficult to keep them, and that's why you need the 2-stop, because you need to get rid of them because they're so bad.
Congratulations. Third place, Victor. And over to you, Corey. Do you have any questions for the man who finished third?
Not so much a question, just more like a congratulations. Obviously, you've got your second run after what was a disaster first opening race, but you ran halfway through, kept yourself well and truly out of trouble in this second Grand Prix, and managed to get yourself back up to the podium. Qualifying P4 and coming out of it with a podium is still a good feeling, so congratulations on that. And I'm glad you did get your second wind and can maintain this championship lead so far.
Yeah, thank you very much, Corey.
Right, that was the man who finished third, Victor Vidler. Oh, we've actually got the second place man in this one as well, Alex Santella. So let's bring Alex into interview now. Hello, Alex. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Well, first of all, congratulations on that second place. Just how does that feel? That must feel awful getting it taken away from you at the line.
Yeah, I mean, it's always Baku, it can end like that. But yeah, I thought I had it.
So close. He won it by a hair. And yeah, just talk us through that one. Of course, in that first race, you had that damage. You got a bit lucky with the restart. Just what was going through your mind throughout the whole event? Was it just absolutely going crazy? Like you didn't know what was going on for a majority of it?
Yeah, for the first try of the race, I had no clue what was going on. Then the restart came, and yeah, it was honestly kind of nice because even if I was P3 before the restart, I didn't really know what to do because it was so strange. And then, yeah, the restart went much, much better. And yeah, it was just a normal race, which I appreciate, honestly.
Certainly was a normal race, that second one. The first one was a bit of pandemonium and chaos. But, of course, talk us through your race. Started in 5th, was able to get past your teammate Vidler quite early on, and then you were able to see yourself up through the field. Was the game plan entirely just, especially on those mediums, get as high as you can before lap 4 and then see how the race goes from there?
Yeah, I was trying, I knew people were boxed lap 4. And when I was P1, I thought, with the little gap I have, I might as well just overcut one lap, because I knew my mediums were not that bad at that point. So I thought, yeah, maybe I just overcut by 1 lap and get some tire wear advantage. And yeah, it worked because in this track, tire wear is so much. So having that lap more really helps you, and it got me through again. And the last stint, I just repeated the same thing, and it worked again.
Yeah, talk us that final stint. Well, of course, if you were just able to break away from the rest of the pack, just was it all about trying to build at least a half a second gap heading into that final lap, or did you realise when you hit lap 26 it was pretty much inevitable I would get by?
Yeah, like I was more worried, honestly, to get past before, like starting the lap 26, not at the end. Because yeah, if I got past before, there was no way, because I would have used my ERS as well. So I just used it, a lot of it, in the lap 25 going into 26. And then for the last lap, I tried to recharge as much as I could, but it was like I had to try to get a balance of recharging, but not letting Ave get too close to me. Because if he got too close, even if I got a bit more ERS, he would have gone past anyways. So it was just a tight balance there, and I didn't get it by 6,000. So it was a nice try.
Very valiant effort from yourself, and I asked this question to Victor, and I'll ask it to you as well, Alex. Of course, we head to Austria next week. My 2-in-1 question: will you be there, and are you confident at Austria?
Yeah, I think I will be there, and I think it's not my worst track, so I will try again.
That race victory, Corey. Do you have any questions for Alex?
Congratulations on the podium, but again, you've covered up the fight. I was going to ask the same questions on that drag race to the line. It was also disappointing to have it taken away, but you've still got to be happy with the fact that you've got up on the podium with a P2, and it's still a high points finish. Early days in the season, still plenty of chances to take the victory, and like you say, you'll be here next week. But congratulations, and again, it's just so unfortunate. 6,000ths of a second, a hair's width away from a victory here in round 2, but you've still got another chance next week, and I can't wait to see you in that one, my friend.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, Alex Santana, congratulations on that second place Spaniard. And now, finally, we'll move on to the race winner. And to quickly comment about that lobby restart, I've just seen Alan Bieda's put a clip into the chat. And he had the glitch where he got the car stopped randomly. That caused the yellow flag. And then he got tagged by one of the Hasses getting by, and he went in. That's what broke the game. They exactly to the T. But let's bring in Abe Gabadi to move on to the race victor of this one. Hello, Abe. Can you hear us?
A man of few words, I guess.
Yes, at the moment. Yet.
Hello.
Oh, there we go. Hello, Abe. How are you? And congratulations on that race victory.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm good now that I won finally. But yeah, it was close.
Yeah, how was that run to the line, and what was the feelings after you saw you got it by 6,000th second? I bet that was very heart in mouth moments on if you got it or not.
Yeah, I mean, I thought undercutting was the right choice because it was quite a aggressive undercut. It worked well, but then the VSC came out, which didn't go to plan. But at the end of the day, I just saved enough to catch Alex in the last few laps. I saw him saving, so I started saving a lot more, I guess. And I think it paid off because I could get close to him on the final laps. Even though Dirtier was quite challenging to fight with a bit older tires, but yeah, still got a good exit. The strategy worked really well, and yeah, just executed I think from P6, so not too bad, not too bad.
Bad at all. Very, very solid race. All the way throughout, and of course, we had that first race as well. Me and Corey saw you as big contender in that one as well. You just had fantastic pace. Long. Just what was going through your mind throughout that lobby restart as well? Because of course you had the 10-second penalty at that time. Did you think, oh yeah, this is my lucky break. Let's just try and do it all over again?
To be honest, no. I mean, it was quite a challenging session in general. Quali, I don't know, the grip just disappeared for some reason. The setup didn't work really well. Then the 10-second, which even though I hit the pit limiter, I still got the 10-second, which is weird. But I mean, the lobby was still bugged. I mean, I didn't lose. I think I only lost 2 positions even with the 10 seconds. So it wasn't a big step back. But yeah, it didn't help, obviously. But then yeah, it was just a restart all over again. Then try to do what I just did with the pace and the strategy and with my engineer. So we did pretty well, I guess. And it did help, I would say, with, I mean, less pressure, I guess, because I had less cars to overtake, but still, I think the pace was still there, and the result, I don't think would have changed, but but yeah, we will never know.
Happened on, but of course, you had a good event. You had a very, very strong. Just talk us through, of course, or talk us through that whole really end part of the race. Of course, very aggressive undercut, the virtual safety car. When you, well, didn't help you at all. But when Alex got by you and he started to gap you ever so slightly, did you have a thought in your head where you potentially were thinking, this is it, this is over, second place is the best you're going to get? Or was it just mainly keep within DRS because anything can happen?
Be honest, not at all, because I wasn't pushing too much the tires to begin with, so I knew he would try to extend the gap, and that would mean he would use more tires and more ERS. So I was just playing it cool, doing my own race, not giving too much pressure for myself, and I knew I had the pace, so I just had to execute, focus, and yeah, just do every laps as I did. Even if I was P1 or P2, I would still do exactly what I did. So not much pressure, but when I saw him pushing, I knew I had to start pushing too, because then the whole straight I would just not gain the slipstream enough. So got a good exit, saved the tires enough, ERS too, and it's always easier to chase at the final laps than to defend. So yeah.
It was a really well worked strategy for yourself. And then finally from me before I hand you over to Corey, it's the same question I've asked the other two. Of course, we head to Austria next week. You're 1 point off the championship lead, and of course Vidler isn't racing. We'll overtake him in the standings. But will you be at Austria, and are you confident?
That's the plan, yeah. I guess hopefully I will be, and I'm confident in every single track to be. But it's just that I gotta perfect the small mistakes, which I still have a bit in quali, and yeah, just get comfortable, get into the rhythm, and I feel like once I'll find my rhythm as I used to have, and hopefully even better. Yeah, the championship is the goal, obviously. Or let's see what will happen. But that's the plan. My plan is to be there, yeah. I like Austria. I like every single track in the calendar. So, yeah, looking forward.
Forward to how you go on for the of Dave, and hopefully next week you have another strong result and that podium streak 5.
Yeah, and hopefully I'll join again the commentary box again, hopefully.
Over to you. Do you have anything for Ave?
More just like a big congratulations. I saw that sort of coming after that first race when you was pushing very aggressively on the mediums, just the way you were picking off the positions and getting up there in the field. And then, of course, in that second run, you had the undercut and you was battling with Santana straight out, holding that net P1. It was just sort of like well, he's got the pace. This is sort of something that's coming. I never expected it to be 6,000th of a second. That was fantastic. But again, congratulations, a beautiful run and a beautiful race and victory. You can't argue with that one, and that was well deserved from just the consistency, the pace she was putting down in that second running, just well and truly deserved. So congratulations on the win, and hopefully we can see something just as spectacular next time out.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure always being here and talking to you guys. Yeah, it was quite close. That 6,000, I think the spectators loved that too much.
Oh yes, yeah, we love it when it's close. The fine margins.
Absolutely.
Again, congratulations, mate, and enjoy the rest of your night. I'm sure the smiles are going to be on, and you'll sleep like a baby.
Thank you so much. Likewise. Thank you so much, guys. Cheers.
Well, that was a baddie. Following that race victory. So, yeah, Corey, we've heard from all of the top three, and crucially in terms of the championship lead and the championship leader, I know it's early days, Victor Vidler will be missing Austria.
Oh, massive points loss, but still early days. He could claw it back, but with these other drivers that are looking to challenge for race victories, it could well and truly be a hard-fought battle. So keep your eyes peeled for what is to come, because I know I'm certainly all eyes on the screen for this one and see which driver is going to take next week's victory and see how these standings play out as the points start to rack up the chart and it gets ever so close between these very competitive drivers you've seen in the first two rounds. First it was Claudia Diaz and Victor Widler. Tonight you've seen Abigabade and Santana. Who's to say it's not two different drivers next time out, because you won't see Widler, but you're going to see the others that you've seen tonight. It's all to come your way, and I'm excited for it.
So am I. I'm looking really forward to Austria, a circuit which really does invite overtaking RS zones. But let's quickly, before we round off for this evening, look at the calendar for the rest of the season. So we head to Austria next week, and Victor Vidler gets a nice 2-week vacation, making it next week. And also, we'll have a break week just after that. Then it is flat out till the end. We have 7 races of Texas, Netherlands, Brazil, Singapore, Belgium, Abu Dhabi, and Jeddah to round off the season. And Corey, after that break week, it's going to be thick and fast action. And even though it is still early days, I think we do have some potential contenders we know will be there week in, week out. The likes of Gabadi, Vidler, Bieda, those kind of drivers that'll be constantly fighting for this title.
Absolutely, just keep your eyes peeled, because after we get through that break week, like you mentioned, it's all flat out, all guns blazing, 7 rounds non-stop, and we finish off in the mighty Saudi Arabia. I love Jeddah. I can't stress this enough. And to finish off a season there with what we can only hope will be a title decider, I'm there for it all the way. We'll have to wait and see how things play out. But on that note, Max, I'm ready to close this one off and get excited for round 3 in Austria, the Red Bull Ring. It's already the anticipation's high. Will we see a repeat from this week, or will we see different drivers take that top spot?
That is certainly going to be the question on everybody's lips. Will Gabadi make it 2 from 2? Can he carry on that podium streak? Some new faces on the podium and potentially a different driver take a race victory. Join us in the Styrian Hills next week, where we see the 3rd round of the season commence, and we really start to get the gist of who will be in the championship battle and who will to the wayside. But make sure to join us next week at 7 p.m. UK time, 8 p.m. Central European time, and we shall see you next time in the Styrian Hill. We'll head to the Red Bull Ring in Austria. Who will come out on top there? Thank you all very much for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and we shall see you in the next one. Thank you, and bye-bye.